If you're like most, you noticed that it was easier to stay lean before the age of 20. That's because after the age of 20, our body's metabolism slows down by as much as 4% every decade. There's an amazing keto powder addressing just this issue. It works by increasing the level of ketones inside your body. Just imagine how good it would feel to be in control of your weight again. If this sounds good to you, start your Keto Elevate journey today and get up to 51% off for the next 24 hours only by going to inspiredketo.com or by visiting the link down below. Hey, my fellow freedom lovers, it's Jean Nolan here. It's good to see you all. And today, I'd like to talk about something that I get asked a lot, and the answer to that question is actually going to be pretty extensive, and I invite you to join me on this journey. So the question I get asked a lot is, why do you do what you do? Why are you talking about the things that you're talking about? And I want to rewind a little bit. As far as I can remember, and as far as my memory goes back, I noticed all around me growing up that there was one version of truth and reality that was presented to me, and then when I looked deeper, there was another version that I saw that didn't match up with this first version. This was a great discrepancy, and I noticed this within my family, of course, where the adults would tell me something, I'd later figure out it's not like that at all, and I realized there's a recurring theme in this, but I wanted to go deeper, and I wanted to understand this. I really was seeking truth, or at least uncovering what is not the truth. And I remember my friends growing up would tell me, hey, Jean, you think everything's a conspiracy. And in some ways, they were right. But I couldn't really explain back then what I felt, what I meant, what I saw. And it took me years of studying, and of course, most importantly, the seventh direction, the path within, the meditation, the introspection, really to explain and to see what is happening. And still today I find myself grasping for words, trying to explain. It is not that everything is a conspiracy, it's that what everything is built on, the foundation our society is built on, the foundation our systems are built on, is one big lie and a deception. And so what is built on it, I'm not saying everybody is a conspirator. I'm not saying there's a lot of, the majority of people actually are good-hearted, great people, believing they're doing the right thing. And this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. It's because so many people with good intentions are unknowingly perpetuating a way of life and perpetuating a system that is so deceptive in its nature. A couple weeks ago, something was brought to my attention, which was a 30-minute movie or TV theater, as it would call back in the day. It was an episode of a show that aired in 1968 called The Newsbenders. It aired on BBC, the British Broadcasting Company. And this is absolutely mind-blowing. So I thought what we're going to do today is we kind of compressed it to the most important parts of that 30-minute episode. So I think we brought it down to about 17 or so. But if you open your mind, open your heart, really just be very open to what you're about to see, what you're about to watch, then you will perhaps get a feeling of, holy cow. I mean, the things that they're talking about in this episode is something that people have just begun to grasp, and they still have a hard time. It's only been really talked about in the past few years, but they talked about this on television in 1968, and although it is presented as a fiction story, I just encourage you to look at it as a documentary, because that's what we believe it is. So we'll see you in about 17 minutes.
Surprised we got you to come here, Mr. Larkin?
Well, I couldn't see what the CWNS would want with me. Still can't.
Know anything about it?
CWNS? Set up midway between the government and the TV companies. Anytime the newsreel boys put out stuff with security classification, wars, weapons, political leaks, they get their film through this office.
What do we know about you? We're interested in very responsible people. In fact, we have a little index for them. We call it their power quotient. A ratio of responsibility as against aggression. Yours is very low, 0.2. I'm sorry, the language must seem rather strange at first, but we take it very seriously. Just to show you how seriously, I'm going to tell you how we checked up on you. We call these things surgical transmitters. One was fitted inside you when you went into the Charing Cross Hospital 3 years ago. Appendix, wasn't it?
Transmitter? Are you trying to tell me that you listen to every word I say?
A machine does. Untouched by human hand. There's a little gadget in these things that ties up with the pulse rate. Puts a bleep onto anything that you're excited about saying. Can you hear your heart beating?
It's eating breakfast at twilight, laughing at leaves on the pavement, getting a cab to a silly movie to Paris. It's moving when you're tired of staying still. And I've done it all before when I could do it with no ties. Now it'd just be irresponsible.
So there really is one of those things inside me. What do you want?
We want people with low power quotients. We want them to work for us. Nothing more sinister than that.
All this just to offer me a job?
Special sort of job. The newspapers talk about the corridors of power, the power elite. Let's just say we'd like you to join the club.
Oh.
There's a vacancy in our newsreel department. We'd like you to help plan the news for 1973.
Come again?
Plan the news for 1973. What are you doing?
I just want to make sure the sunlight's real.
I always tell people, news is the most highly developed form of fiction. The most difficult. Come on. I just want to show you something. 1973. We've only roughed out the news for 1973. Nothing's been given the go-ahead yet, but this is the kind of thing we have in mind.
Today, April 14th, 1973. First historic pictures by Radstar of the combined U.S.-Russian landing on the moon. Shown here are Majors Webb and Mikhailovich taking their first steps into the unknown, firing their retro rockets to land their spacecraft on the dust-covered surface. A comforting note for us stay-at-homes, both the Pentagon and the Kremlin have announced that the moon has no strategic value.
A comforting note for us to stay at home. I can't show you any film on this next model. We haven't photographed it yet. But this is the way it will sound.
June the 22nd, 1973. The State Department releases film of the ultimate weapon, codenamed Icarus. This satellite is equipped with a solid reactor. In layman's terms, it can freeze air solid, stopping all missiles, killing all forms of life. Icarus orbits at the same speed as the Earth, can hang in position over every major city that threatens the peace-loving nations.
Rather proud of this one.
September the 5th, 1973. The new phase in global warfare. War by example. At 4:32 our time, China took out the remote Indian border village of Bandar, unprotected by the Icarus network. After the first 2 5-megaton H-bombs had fallen, the 9-way hotline finally
Switch
had
it off.
effect. But
This is going to happen in 1973. You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels.
That's fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yes, you're getting there. I knew you would.
Well, Now, the moon rocket and the satellite, that you can get away with. That's too remote for people to grasp. It's too far away. But this... I mean, you invented this village on the Indo-Chinese border. Well, somebody could check up.
Very mountainous territory up there. There'll be no survivors in 1973. No rescue work. Radiation scare.
Yes. You can do it. This could be the news for 1973.
Not necessarily exactly like this. We only plan in detail 1 year ahead. Tell me, what is the news item that's bothered you the most in the past year, 1967?
Well, it has to be the new American intercontinental ballistic missile, the Boy Wonder, doesn't it?
Just the one I asked him to set up for you. The new ICBM, codename Boy Wonder, with a much talked about Mercury warhead. I haven't any special effects up here, but perhaps with the proper sound. Blast off. And Robert Larkin, television director, high IQ, 35 years old, is scared. Scared by nothing. It doesn't work. It's a scientific impossibility. The same goes for the much talked about Mercury warhead.
If this rocket doesn't work, then the others...
They have a fireworks party at Cape Kennedy almost every other day. You didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean... that doesn't work either?
Right. Dirty.
Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief. I've only shown you the hard news. There are other things, much softer things we thought might interest you.
Well?
1973, we thought it might be time for an anti-teenage movement. A long-awaited return to maturity. Sheriff. Perhaps even a religious revival.
When did it all start?
1945. You may remember the Americans let off their 2 atomic bombs. Well, they didn't want other people doing the same thing. I mean, you do see that, don't you?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, to scare the people off, the Americans put it up, and the atomic bomb was halfway along the line to something much bigger, the hydrogen bomb. It didn't work. They spent 5 years in negative research.
Well, what about the Russians? They're supposed to have quite a pile of these things.
We were surprised when they started their tests. Then we got a few feelers from their Secret Service. Nowadays, we work very closely together. Oh, all these stories about spies going off to Russia. Just good copy for the Sunday papers.
Good copy. Well, the Chinese... I mean, they've just announced their bomb.
Yeah, we played along with it. We recorded their phony explosion. We're rather hoping the Chinese will come along, complete the pattern, you know.
In Vietnam, hundreds of people are being killed every week. Well, you can't do that with your models.
No. And you can't cure people of bad habits in 2 generations. They like to carry rifles. They like to put lines on maps. And we let them because we control the situation. There's no danger of world war. Just a simple choice for everybody. Capitalism or communism. Strawberry or vanilla. It all adds up to the same thing now we've got rid of the big bangers.
Well, how can you be sure that Johnson, Kosygin aren't working on other things? Poison gases, bacteria.
Pathetic man of your intelligence. You don't want to destroy the world, neither do I. What makes you think that presidents are different?
Well, they've made some pretty good stabs at it in the past.
There wasn't the right sort of control then. Nowadays we know better. Politicians are easy to control. The grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers in Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
But there must come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button. We control all the crises. We build them up and we shut them down.
We? Again?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Near the top of the hierarchy, there are the economists, top civil servants, top brass in the military. Those men who are supposed to view the nuclear tests and so on. And above them, CWNS.
Classified World News Service.
Just who the hell are you?
It's obvious, isn't it? Just a very few of the top people in communications in every major country in the world.
Oh, you mean you run all these magazines?
No, of course not. We just get them to take some of our copy every week. Television is much more important to us. It all happens so quickly.
Now, you say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. And they're the top minds, the really responsible people. They know they're guaranteeing the lives of their grandchildren the only foolproof way.
Scaring the hell out of their grandchildren. Well, I won't buy it.
You must admit there has to be some kind of control in this world of ours. Look at this. And remember that 1/4 of the world is starving. There are the full bellies and the empty bellies. Some of the empty bellies carry rifles. Well, we full bellies are getting a bit flabby. We're not very good with rifles anymore, so we've devised 2 ways to keep the empty bellies under control. One of them is this fictitious hydrogen bomb we've talked about. The other one is money. Enough money to fill some of the empty bellies and put a hopeful smile on the faces of the others. A great wall of money all around Britain. And it's no secret that the British economy is in trouble at the moment. So we have to put that right, too, to stay alive. We have to control the people in this country. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways of doing, not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive drug. One we could pay off against the hard drugs. LSD.
You marketed that?
Oh, yes, of course. And for a very good reason. Some of these protest movements were getting a little bit too close to the mark. LSD gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Shall we talk terms?
You're not still going to ask me to work for you.
Most people realize that the world is controlled from about 6 big cities. But it must be rather shocking to learn that 1/6 of the world is controlled from this building.
You mean you?
Oh, no. I only rate an office on the 7th floor. There are 2 other offices above this one. And a giant computer system. Link number 4 in world control.
A computer?
And what's so remarkable about that? It's just a machine that can store a vast amount of information.
A machine that knows too bloody much.
Now you're being hysterical about it. The computer's very simple. You feed data into it. Anything from the Wall Street closing prices to the North Atlantic weather reports.
And you get decisions. That machine's taken you over.
It's just a machine. Extra hands for the people who know how to control it.
Well, this one above us, it's square in a box.
Yeah, I suppose you could call it square in a sort of a box.
Do you know why I go away at weekends? To get away from people in boxes. They live in boxes. They get their thoughts, their problems, and their answers out of boxes. And I like to get away at weekends because they're not people anymore. Now, you know all about me. My cottage in Hampshire. But did you know that there's a line of trees that goes right up past the house? And the noise they make is like the sea. Did you know that I find it difficult to sleep in the country? And I like to go and stand in the garden before dawn. And I feel good because I know that my wife and my children are asleep inside. And I like to go out and walk past the wet hedgerows until I can see pasture land and the smoke from the cottages in the
This
village.
may be all very well for one of your grassroots programs, but I'm afraid time is running out. I ought to tell you, we pay a great deal of money. We can afford to. We save such a lot on things like the national defense budget, so on. We would start you off at £250,000 a year.
Oh.
Rising to £1 million when you make the Ministry of Morality, which I know you will.
Will you let me out of here?
One little point. I should have told you about these surgical transmitters. There's enough of this stuff inside you at this moment to kill 6 people. There's a button we can press. I'm sorry about the dramatics. Our boys call these things the oral contraceptive. Keeps them from talking too much.
So there must be one of those transmitters inside you. Who presses the button? Extra hands. All this stuff about the computer being extra hands for the men who know how to control it. That machine controls you.
You start on Monday.
All right, welcome back. And I think after watching this, it takes quite some time to process it. If this is something that is new to you, you can absolutely expand this concept to every other area of our lives. I mean, what they're talking about here is literally not bending news, as the name would suggest, creating news, fabricating stories, and hence fabricating history, fabricating truth, fabricating whole ideologies and cultures built around these things. And this has always been something I kind of felt, but I could never really put it into words growing up. Now, the more I studied, the more I realized this. And why this topic is so important to us is because we believe 100%, as we've said so many times, unless you really comprehend the fictitious nature of this Maya, of everything that is built around you, you cannot penetrate the layers of the inner truth that you feel inside of you, because you'll constantly compare it to your outer reality and it will never be a match. So this is so important, and so many people that live within this system but are either spiritual teachers or truth teachers, they still operate in a relative field. And I'm not saying we don't, and I'm not saying we're not part of that in some way, because we are human beings and we live in this 3D reality, and as much as we try not to, we still get influenced by all these societal and systematic factors. It is our greatest intention to always go into this observer perspective, to go deep within, to find that space that is undeniably true, because you can feel it. There's no objective truth that you can describe about it, because it's something that happens within, and it only happens for you that way. But still, we call this truth. And with this, you can actually filter out the reality around you a lot better. But the truth is, if you watch this episode, this Newsbenders episode that we just showed to you, you probably feel that that's exactly the truth, that they're literally putting out the truth, and they've been doing this for so long. They've always used TV, movie, entertainment, books, songs, theater, everything at their disposal to present, here, we're actually telling you the truth. We might put it in a pretty packaging and put a ribbon on top of it, but still, we're showing you the truth, because on some level there are some laws that cannot be broken. And so I don't think that they can actually create this dystopian reality without telling us ahead of time, and hence receiving our permission, even though we don't realize we're given it. So I think this is really highly important. It inspires me to pull this out, to pull these things out from the darkness, infuse them with light. And it inspires me because I can center and balance myself when I'm clear on what isn't truth. As I said many times before, we don't have the gospel of truth. We cannot have it because we're all exploring, we're all expanding, we're all beginning to sharpen all of our senses. And so, but what we can do is see things for what they are not. And so if you look around you and you find things that you have a feeling there's something off about it, see what that means and see if you have been maybe even supporting something that does not really resemble truth and authenticity and is another part of the matrix deception, because then you can focus your energy on things that are truthful, authentic, really beautiful, and that will actually unite authentic, real beings together, bring them in communities, bring those authentic ideas and abilities up to the seen realm, and actually create this beautiful reality that we were already a part of when we lived in our original culture. So I encourage you, share this. Please share this with your friends and family. This is a very big eye-opener, especially because it was done in 1968 and because so many people weren't even able to grasp the idea that news could be fake a few years ago. Now it's coming to the forefront over the past years, but still the level of deception could not be grasped. And what they're talking about 50 years ago, over 50 years ago, absolutely mind-blowing. Please also hop over to Locals, where we're building our new inspired, uncensored, and unfiltered community, completely uncensored. You can find us at inspired.locals.com. If you haven't yet, you can create an account absolutely for free. Join us there if you want to be part of the conversation. See the unfiltered, all of the unfiltered content, I should say, and comment and become part and communicate with others. The way the platform is built is that you then become a supporter in the Inspired community. We have decided to take the lowest tier, which is $5 a month or $50 a year. This is the lowest we could take with how the platform operates, but we believe it's definitely worth it. We'd love to have you there. See if there's something there for you. And as I said, we're building it, so more and more and more content is going there, more and more discussion is going there, and we would love to have you there. All right, we love you. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful and inspired rest of your day, and we'll see you all soon.